Like I said in my review of Famous Monsters Speak, while movies are still going to be my main focus when it comes to this show, I also want to branch out and talk about some other things that I find interesting. With that said, let's talk about Nacelle. The Nacelle Company was founded in 2017 and started off making shows and documentaries before expanding into a toy company. While they produced various figures, including ones for Star Trek, The Expanse, and famous comedians, what really caught my attention was their shared universe called the Nacelleverse. See, in 2022, Nacelle purchased the rights to various canceled toy lines, including the Great Garloo, Sectars, Cowboys of Moo Mesa, Biker Mice from Mars, and other lines that are well known enough to still have followings, but also obscure enough to bring in a new crowd. And believe me when I say, Nacelle's really trying to make this catch on, with new toy lines, comics, and even animated shows. All I can say is, this idea is amazing. Not only do I love that a new toy company is trying to make it big in an industry where the elites are dying, but media loves competition, and seeing a new competitor come out of nowhere makes it all the more interesting. We've seen it happen when DreamWorks became big enough to compete with Disney. Same with Illumination. Which brings us to their first show in the Nacelleverse, RoboForce. RoboForce is a 2025 animated series that, as I stated with the other licenses, is a reboot of an obscure toy line of the same name. For those of you who don't know, and I'm guessing that's most of you, the original line came out in 1984, the same year as Transformers. Despite the creators doing everything in their power to make the line a hit, it eventually died and faded off into obscurity. If you want to know more about that story, check out Secret Galaxy's video of the line's history. Now, before Nacelle flags this video because it's happened with half of my reviews, I can kinda see most of these coming, I want to point out right now that I actually do like this show. It's well written, has some good characters, and I actually think stays true enough to the original line for my liking. But with that said, it's a Tubi exclusive. Do I think most of you will like it? Is it really good enough to start a shared universe? Well, let's take a look. Right off the bat, the show establishes that it's a shared universe, by having the world be filled with characters for upcoming series. Cows in western clothing from Cowboys of Moo Mesa, people with antennas from Sectars, and they explain the reason they're here is because of space travel.
To SkySend 1 space elevator. We'll get you from orbit to surface in 4 minutes.
Intergalactic travelers flock to our beautiful little planet. Sure, it's not perfect, but it's home.
Personally, I think that's a neat idea. I don't know how many kids are aware of what a shared universe is, so if they're not familiar, I could see them needing to be taught. With that said, there are some downsides to this. While I do enjoy finding most of these cameos, that's really more of a gimmick kind of thing. Like, oh, isn't it cool if you know what Sectars is? Or you know what Biker Mice from Mars is? And while I was able to get most of the references, given most of the characters are from forgotten franchises and toy lines, maybe not that many other people will. The main reason people got into Marvel's universe was because there were enough people who knew about the characters they were building up. Like when you see Thor's hammer, you know what that is. When you hear Nick Fury mention the Avengers at the end of Iron Man, you know what that is. I don't really know many people who know what Biker Mice from Mars or Cowboys of Moo Mesa is. Most of the time they're just cameos, but other times you're just expected to know who these characters are.
And you guys thought Mars had bad drivers.
That was weird. But some of you are probably thinking, I can overlook that if the story's good at least. Well, that's one of this show's greatest advantages. The writing is fantastic. And even though it does still follow a lot of cliches you've probably seen a million times by now, the story was well written, kept me guessing, and even surprised me a few times. But with that said, what is the show about? Well, I could explain it, but I'll let the theme song do it because that leads to one of the nitpicks I have with this show.
Built to be the best, but they ended up coming last. Designed to be the future, but they were kept in the past. Now the world's endangered by enemies far and near. 'Cause today's heroes have failed, and RoboForce must prevail.
Yeah, forget shows like Sailor Moon or Sonic Sat AM for actually having catchy lyrics and music. All you need to do is sing the premise of your show. Yeah, it's not that bad. The chorus is honestly kinda catchy.
Rising up from the ashes, we'll be there when the world comes crashing down. When all the other heroes start to fall, we'll heed the call.
But one of the most popular things about any show is the opening theme. And if it's just kinda subpar with only a few good bits in it, that's not really going to make a good first impression. Theme songs to the side, I love this premise. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if the story was inspired by RoboForce's original 80s release. Think about it. Like the opening explains, upon being created, the robots became obsolete, much like what happened when the original toy line came out. They were decent toys, but Transformers stole the show. Call it an absurd theory, like what Bethesda does with the Sickle Man theories, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was some influence there.
How can we be obsolete? We're brand new.
It doesn't take a supercharged 89 Helios unhackable quantum core to determine that we are deceived, defrauded, tricked, swindled, duped, reprehensibly misrepresented.
We've become the IDW of robots. Yeah, IDW Comics is almost dead, but you didn't know that!
If Silas Duke could control the skies and make us obsolete, the question is, what else is he planning to control?
But, like the theme song says, RoboForce may actually have a chance to be great after all, as the robots made by Duke seem to be malfunctioning and attacking people. Kinda like what happened with Hollywood. You're just jealous because you didn't think of it first! So, as you probably guessed, it's up to RoboForce to figure out what happened and stop the bots before they cause a huge disaster. Now, I'm not going to review the entire plot because I do believe different forms of media should be reviewed differently. So, I'm just going to tell you what worked for me with this show and what didn't. Like I said before, despite having too many references to future series, the story is well written, and while I can't say the characters are the most interesting protagonists I've ever seen in a show, they're likable enough. I really did want to see them rise from the ashes. Max89 spelled with 2 X's because... clever? I guess? Anyway, he starts off as someone who doesn't think he can do good, but once he finds his footing, he's a great leader and lovable character. And the other bots have distinct personalities too. I also like that when they do find out what hacked those robots, it's not who I thought it would be. Given that Duke is trying to buy RoboForce and one of his employees is trying to stop them from finding out who it was that hacked those robots.
Attention staff and trespassers. Any and all knowledge of events that transpired here tonight are the exclusive property of the Utopia Aegis Corporation and its subsidiaries.
I thought Duke was somehow involved with this hacking as a way to take over the world. But to my surprise, that's not the case at all. Duke just wants to figure out who it was that hacked the robots before Sara can. Because he's worried his company will look bad if someone else figures it out first. So we're given a three-side conflict. RoboForce, Duke's company, and the mystery person who hacked the robots. I actually think this was clever for a kid's show. Now, I don't have many issues with this show. Most of them are just nitpicks, and the only major ones mainly boil down to two things. As I've stated before, I think the show goes a little too far with the cameos.
And you guys thought Mars had bad drivers.
Scratch that, they go way too far. Usually when a shared universe has this many tie-ins, it gives off the impression that the creators don't really care about what they're putting out in front of you right now. They just want to build up new, bigger things. Now, to be fair, I didn't get much of that feeling from this show. It really did feel like they had already written a story and they just added the cameos in later. I just would have liked it better if they cut down on those cameos for a lot of episodes. My second issue with this show is that I think some of the scientific dialogue is a little too complicated for kids.
The BAR bots, but they don't write in F code, they destroy it.
And how can she even communicate with them?
Let there be light. Literally the oldest trick in the book, with a slight twist. Her code cannon forced Max's sensors to send instructions to his BAR bots. Sort of a Trojan light horse, if you will.
Let me tell ya, I watched a lot of science fiction shows and movies, and even I had a bit of trouble following it. Imagine how hard it would be for kids. Any other issues I have with this show are mostly just nitpicks. I guess it's worth pointing out that the animation is a little lacking, but for animation on a streaming service that's free, I guess it's fine. Sometimes the characters' expressions, especially on the humans, can look a little unfinished, which usually happens with computer-generated 2D animation. Yeah, there's a big debate on whether that looks better than hand-drawn 2D animation, and this is one of the big factors I think hand-drawing looks better. But there is one place where the animation really shines, which happens to be one of the most important parts for an action cartoon. The action. Even though it does still look a little cheap, it's clear that a lot of detail was put into the fight scenes. Each bot has its own unique ability and weapon, and seeing the amount of detail that went into these fights is easily the show's highlight for me. It's also worth noting that some of the art directors and animators of this show had previously worked on Teen Titans Go. This honestly makes too much sense. Like RoboForce, Teen Titans Go has animation that's kind of average, so it surprises me when I find that the show can actually do action scenes really well when it wants to. My only other nitpick with this show is, I have to wonder, is this a faithful adaptation of the original RoboForce line? Now, I don't know that much about the original line's lore, but based on the design of the original toys and Secret Galaxy's review of RoboForce, that doesn't seem to be the case. From what I've read, the original RoboForce line was set on another planet. The creator of the bots was different, and so was the villain. I'm not sure if this is a nice change for a remake, or if it's so far removed from the original idea that fans of the original line won't like it. So if you're a fan of the original line and you're wondering if you'll like this show, I don't really know. I'm just sharing what I liked about the show. But the main reason I like the show is because I went into it 50% blind, and it was a remake of a franchise that I had little to no interest in. So since it kept my interest, does that make it good or bad? It's a mix of originality working both with you and against you. For an adaptation or a remake to be successful, you need to stay faithful to the source material while also adding enough new things to make it different. But how different is too different? And for that matter, how similar is too similar? The Harry Potter movies were well received and successful because they were faithful to the source material. But when Psycho was remade in 1998, it failed, and a lot of people hated it because it was almost exactly the same as the original. There were no surprises or changes. And the same applies for making things different. Remakes like The Thing and The Fly are considered some of the greatest remakes ever, and that's because they have their own unique identities. So when we watch them, we're not constantly saying, where's this scene or where's that line? We instead enjoy whatever new directions they decide to take us. But other remakes like Child's Play and The Fog were bashed for straying too far from the original films. Do you see why this is hard? If you're a fan of the original RoboForce line and you can't get into this show, I'm not gonna act like I don't understand why. Like I said before, I'm just sharing what I thought of it, and as someone who went in blind and not knowing much about the original line, like I said, I liked it. Do I wish the animation was a little better and it had less cameos? Yes. But I was still invested in the story, and the elements that worked I thought were really good. So, I say check it out and judge it for yourself. I heard that the next series that Nacelle's planning is Biker Mice from Mars, and I also heard that each series release is going to be a season in the Nacelleverse. But I'm hoping that doesn't mean that RoboForce won't get a second season, because like I said, I really do like this show, and I honestly think this is the blueprint for a second season. Like taking the good things and learning from the mistakes that the first season made, I think that would make the second season even better, maybe even one of the best shows on Tubi. And I really do hope that Nacelle becomes more popular in the toy industry, cause like the saying goes, competition builds a better breed. While technology has changed, I do love the toy business, and I would never want to see it go away. For now though, I say give Nacelle some love. Link to their website in the description. Well, that's all for now. Until next time.
In the night I do see what you dream. All your troubles, are they what they seem? Look around you, then you may realize all the creatures all with their eyes. And I might know of our future, but then you still control the past. Only you know if you'll be together. Only you know if we shall last. In the night I do, you still feel your pain. For the valor you waited never came. You were able, would you go change the past? Amend a faux pas with one last chance. And I might know of our future, but then you still control the past. Only you know if you'll be together tonight.